What's going on? All right, couple people have stopped in. Hello, Johnny. Hello, Michael. I think, yep. All right. All right, we are starting to get things going. All right, so today is July 30th, 2025. This is Yoddah Live. Yoddah is spelled Yoddah because film studios are litigious. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about. I have a particular interest this evening in something that I just saw, but man, it's hard to choose these days. It's hard to narrow down the topic because there's always just wild stuff going on. It's, there's, I don't know, maybe even too much. Too many things to choose from, what to talk about, what's important out there. Hard to say. I see a couple of people are streaming in. Hello, one and all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And as always, remember to get that heart me. Start off every live with a heart me. That's always good. Hello, Dana. All right. It's a slow, lazy Wednesday. People are just starting to trickle in. Right now, I'm mostly speaking to myself. And that's okay. If that's the case, that's the case. Hello, Trick. Interesting username. Has some interesting connotations, that's for sure. So remember to like the live. Once we get to about 1,000 likes, TikTok finally notices us. Skis, I see you're here. Emmanuel. Cynthia, how you doing? Biker is here. Biker D. That's a solid username. I'm actually kind of tired. I didn't sleep that well. And well, it's not that I didn't sleep well. I don't think I slept long enough. I'm okay. I'm good. Overall, I have nothing but first world problems, so I'm fine. But I am definitely tired. Who knows how long we'll go tonight? See how long my voice holds out. But the topic I want to start off with today. Hello, Anthony. Hello, Richard. I want to talk about this the fact that this group, I think it's a nonprofit, they're called Monitor, and what they do is they check to see, which countries are violating civic rights. And America just got put on that list. And they're saying for military deployments against protests, attacks on the Constitution and constitutional freedoms, and as a result, America is on a Civics Watch list. I mean, I guess overall it's really about human rights, right? So, again, military deployed to quell protests, which, to my recollection, I know of one famous incident in New York City in 1855, the draft riots were happening, and I think it was either the military or the National Guard, I'm going to have to look that up, that came into New York City and actually wreaked havoc. So, and of course, Kent State in Ohio, and I know that was the National Guard. Journalists and civil society facing slew of restrictions and funding cuts. Yeah, the attack on journalism is essentially, and I think without question, an attack on the First Amendment. Having a student arrested because that student protested against America is an attack on the First Amendment. And aggressively targeting of foreign-born Palestine advocates. So apparently this organization is based in Johannesburg, and also apparently America has been on the Civic USA Monitor watch list, and it's staying on. So Cynthia said, I hope I'm getting this right, even the fake triots, is that what you're referring to them on? Fake triots of Texas said it was my right to protest them. Suddenly I'm yawning a lot. I also have spent the last couple of hours in this chair because I had conference calls, so that's not helping. But yeah, it's wild what's going on. It's just absolutely wild. And I think the thing that troubles me, let me say hello to John W., George, looks like either Johnny or Joni, Charlie E., Paul Reddy, and Ricky. Hello. What really amazes me is how quickly and seemingly easily America has been flipped into what appears at every level like fascism. The mass casualties haven't started yet, which is the only meager distinction Of course, it's meaningful in the big picture, but it's when everything else lines up, when every other box is checked for fascism, yeah, it's important that that step hasn't been followed yet. But when are people going to become concerned that all of the other ones have been followed? That's what I want to know. And I agree, Cynthia, they were always here. They just got awakened. But, still, with the propaganda that we were fed about what America is, damn it, is I wasn't yawning before I started, and I guess I'm boring myself, but something's going on that I can't stop yawning. But anyway, with all the propaganda that we've been fed from the time we can remember about, the greatness of America and the freedoms and all that other shit, that is only propaganda. But in the face of that propaganda, it still surprises me how easily everything just fell apart. Just because one man and his sycophants and his gang of thieves and what is essentially an organized crime family running America right now, it took look at the damage that was done in 6 months. I mean, we're 10 days over the 6 month point of his second term, and look at the havoc. It's wild. And I know they've been preparing for probably 60 years. And I know that this is not one person. I mean, Dump is definitely not smart enough for any of this. So I know it's not him. I know it's not all about him. I know if he falls off the face of the earth tomorrow, this will still be going on. Because this is a coalition of people that are doing this. And they have the reins of power right now. They have everything. They have everything they need to keep this reign of terror continuing. Hi, optimistic. I agree it is tragic. If anybody wants to come up, feel free. Uh, I'll invite people up. Optimistic. For some reason, it's not letting me invite you up. So if you want to come up, feel free. Cynthia, come on up if you like. I've invited you. Yeah, it is. It is shocking. It's amazing. You have just a handful of determined people with a plan. And once the starting bell was rung, which was, of course, the contest in 2024 that TikTok doesn't like us to talk about, but once that was settled, then they were off and running. They got busy. They were like, okay, we're ready. We have Project 2025. We've got the billionaire class with us. We've got all of the seats of power in the government, including the branch of government that's supposed to keep check on this, which is the Supreme Court, as part of the judiciary. And I agree that they have to be stopped, Cynthia. The problem is, for me, is that I'm a firm believer that we can't stop them. And I know that's an unpopular thing to say, and it's a bummer, but I don't see any other reality. I don't see how they're going to be stopped. It would take It would take a movement of citizens, and we haven't seen that movement come to fruition. We've seen sparks of it, the people that went out on No King's Day. That was great, but that's still inadequate. And so I don't know what it's going to take to motivate people to do this. I really don't. There doesn't seem to be anything. I mean, I really became really, really jaded and cynical after Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook is the thing that broke me. That really quashed my hope and really cemented my cynicism. Because if that couldn't motivate people, if that wasn't an indicator of a severe malaise in America, I just don't know what is. All right, I mean, let's break it down. You have 20 children, ages 6 and 7. And I understand a couple of adults as well. But I'm focused on the children. 20 children, age 6 and 7. And what was the response in America? Was it Congress is getting together, you know, within 24 hours to enact a new bill to make this as close to impossible as we can? Was it a unified public outcry? Nope. I mean, a significant portion of America, maybe even half, was saying Second Amendment as a response to 20 children gone. Second Amendment. What the fuck? That's when something changed in me. I've been disappointed in America for most of my life. These conversations that I'm having with you on TikTok, I've been having for 40 years at least. Was from when I was a teenager. I started having these conversations. Of course, I'm more well informed now than I was as a teenager, but I had a sense. Thank you for the heart meme, Lady Blue. I had a sense that America was soul sick. I had a sense that the government was bullshit. I had a very clear sense that we were fed propaganda. That's not the word I used when I was 17 and 18, but that's what I was talking about. Thank you for the heart me, I'm a watch. I heard all these amazing quotes when in social studies, all these history books filled with these pristine quotes during high pressure situations. And the one that was the straw for me was I have but one regret that I only have but one life to give for my country. I was like, come on, man, you're about to be strung up and you had the wherewithal to trot out a perfect quote. I just didn't believe it. And that's where my cynicism began. And then as I learned more, as I learned about the things that Howard Zinn talked about with regard to Columbus and how that entire legend is completely bullshit, the thing that we teach children in elementary school, or grade school as it's called, the thing that we present as facts to school children about Columbus come from a book by Washington Irving, the guy who wrote Sleepy Hollow, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and Rip Van Winkle, the guy who wrote fiction. He wrote a book about Columbus, something to the effect of The Adventures of Columbus, The Adventures of Christopher Columbus, something like that. Son of a bee, this has never happened to me before. I can't stop yawning. I mean, it's happened to me while I've been sitting on the couch vegging out to television, but never when I was doing a presentation. So, what Howard Zinn based most of his writing around was Columbus's diary, right? Or his journal, whatever it was. He was free to write down all of his atrocities because he knew that there was no consequences for these things. He was sanctioned by a kingdom, right? So he wrote about all the horrifying things that he did. We know that people did not think the earth was flat back then because the globe had been existed 500 years beforehand. They already knew the earth was round. The Greeks had proven that, right? So imagine having all these facts at the ready, and what they teach is fiction from Washington Irving. If you ever wonder why America does so badly in education, because to me, with all this money, with all these resources, all this technology, America not being number one in education is laughable. Not even, I don't think they're even in the top 5. Might not even be the top 10 now that I think about it. I'm going to look this up. Where does America rank in education? Wow. So America is 28th in math, and this according to 2022 results by PISA, which is Program for International Student Assessment. So in mathematics, okay. All right, so globally, 9th. So they did make the top 10. So globally, it's 9th. 28th in mathematics. 12th in science. That's just sad. And again, it's clear why that's happening. I mean, if the Columbus thing is just a modicum of information, and you basically expand that out, you make the micro the macro, it's easy to see why America is in such bad shape. 67% of adults believe in angels. I think it's something like 80 or 85% that believe in the Noah's Ark story. And when I talk about religion, I want to make it clear that I am never attacking the belief itself in the individual. Any individual can believe whatever they want. I'm referring to the institutions and the horrible shit that they do. Okay, make sure I'm reading this correctly. All right, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm just double checking, just so you know, optimistic. It is Wednesday night. um, Now, Cynthia, I'm trying to see if this is connected to anything. You wrote the third one. Gilgamesh was the second. I know the Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest texts, but I don't know the context of how you're referring to it. Yeah, someone referred to religion as the opiate of the masses. It might have been Karl Marx. Looking that up too. Yes. Wow, I'm amazed that I remembered both of those things, except I got one word wrong. I said opiate. Religion is the opium of the people. So two words I got wrong. The opium of the people. And that was Karl Marx who said that. So, Cynthia, I'd actually love you to come up because I like what you're talking about, and I know it's really hard in the chat. And Randy, I agree. The Roman Empire used religion as a control tool, but I mean, everybody did. Everybody has. You know, that's why kings always say that they're anointed by God, right? Did I see blue come in? And the chat is going fast and furious. Beautiful thing. There's Blue. Hi, Blue. I thought I saw you. Thought I saw your name whiz by quickly. Yeah, religion is a subject that I've been fascinated with for almost the entirety of my life. My process for going into atheism, or it's not really something to go into, for just not believing in God, which is not to say I don't believe that there is a higher power. I mean, obviously, the universe is a higher power to me, but I don't believe in organized religion. I think it's a cancer on humanity. I think the chaos and the loss of life associated with religion, and I'm not just talking about the Catholic Church, I'm talking about all religion. When you look, I think it was in the 1300s or 1400s. I forget when it was. The Aztecs were doing, and several other people in that region were doing human sacrifices. I kind of remember that the sacrifices were to the gods of like agriculture and stuff like that. Yeah, the Aztecs during the Shang Dynasty, also among the Inca in the Andes, some places in Egypt, the Vikings also. So it was all over the world. It was all over the world. I'm at thearchaeologist.org and looking at human sacrifices in ancient cultures, a historical overview. And they talk about the Mesoamerican civilizations, which is like the Aztecs and all of them, ancient Egypt, ancient China, Celtic cultures, Norse and Germanic tribes, ancient India, prehistoric Aegean world, Phoenicia and the Carthaginians, Africa, Mesopotamia, and Slavic people. So that is all over the world, quite literally. So there's been just a huge swath of destruction in the name of invisible friends in the sky. And that's just horrifying to me. Man, the chat is really fast and furious tonight. I'm loving it. So I'll go into the rest of the details regarding my process. Amy, thank you so much for sharing the live. And you can share the live a couple ways. The most efficient way is to put your finger in the middle of the screen, on my nose or on my forehead if you like. Just hold it there and your friends list will pop up, and the word send will be next to all of them to the right. And you can just press send over and over again. I think you can go to like 30 or 40 different people, and that shares the live. Oh, Amy, thank you for the heart puffs. You're the best. Thank you so much. And thank you for the heart me. So, uh, I was disillusioned early in life. I was a people watcher for as long as I could remember. I was always staring at people. I was particularly fascinated by adults, because they were always talking about different things than what me and my friends were talking about. Or would that be I and my friends? I think it might have been what I and my friends were talking about. So, yeah, like I would watch people all the time. I think the first thing I noticed about people was how sad they looked. Everywhere I went, when I was walking around with my mother, when we were on the subway or a bus, or, fast food restaurant, every time I was looking around at other people, most of the time, the majority of the people that I was looking at were sad. Or at least to me, they appeared sad. They might have been deep in thought, they might have been distracted by other things, but they seemed sad to me. And the second thing that I remembered about people, again, in a macro way, was when I was in church. There was a particular thing that pretty much all churches do, and that's the call and response. And the one that comes to mind as the most obvious is when the priest or preacher or whoever the guy in the beautiful dress was in the front of the room would say, God is with you or the Lord is with you. And the crowd reflexively, based on their conditioning, would say, and also with you. But there was something amiss about that exchange to my 7-year-old ears. Because I'm hearing people saying something that sounds like it's a good thing. May the Lord be with you and also with you, right? So you would think both sides of that exchange would have positive energy, an upbeat tone in their voice. Like if I wanted to say that to somebody, I could think of a few different tonalities to convey the meaning of that greeting. May the Lord be with you. May the Lord be with you, etc., etc., right? Because it's a positive sounding thing, right? And some priests would try to muster up that energy. They'd put some gravitas in their voice. May the Lord be with you. Something like that. But it was mostly the response that caught my attention. Because rather than an upbeat response to a seemingly polite and peaceful and pleasant and well-meaning greeting, most people would say, and also with you. They would be expressionless. Their body language was negative. And when I was 7 years old, that struck me as strange. I was just like, that doesn't feel right to me. Why do they sound like that? After something so nice was said to them, why does their response feel so lacking? Why does it feel so inadequate? Why does it feel so disconnected? I just didn't get it. I couldn't put it together in my head. So that was an indication to me, consciously and otherwise, that what was going on here in the church was odd somehow. It was off in some way. Because human beings are very attuned to incongruence. You know how someone is telling you something and you just sense that there's an inauthenticity to it, that it's fake, or it's not honest, or it's not forthright, or it's not righteous? You just feel it. Even before you form a conscious thought about that, you can feel it, right? And that's what was happening with me. Before I had the vocabulary to contextualize my feelings, I just had my feelings. And when I was in church, it didn't feel right. And then fast forward to when I'm 10, and my mother decides to send me to Sunday school. And I remember that I would usually go dressed in my football uniform because right after class I had to go play football. But that's just a quick aside. When they were talking to me, telling me about the Bible, telling me about God, and whatever else went on at Sunday school, and of course those were the two primary functions at Sunday school, I was listening. I listened to everything they said. I listened intently because this was the first time anyone was explaining this stuff to me. My mother just took me to church. She never talked about it. She talked about God once in a while, but not in an instructive way, just in passing, oh, thank God, or God willing, things like that. Never sat me down and like tried to explain anything. And that was true of everything in my life. My mother never explained anything to me. So here I am. I'm listening intently to what these people are saying. This is all new information to me. And so I want to understand it. I want to take it in. I've always been passionately curious about everything. So if people were giving me new information about virtually anything, I was interested. And I'm still that way. So I'm not sure about the time frame of this. I'm loosely recollecting that this was about 2 weeks in. They explain the concept of confession. They say, we're going to go downstairs into the rectory, and then you're going to go into the confessional, which is a booth where you sit on one side and the priest sits on the other. And you tell the priest the things that you did wrong or whatever, or the thoughts that you had that were wrong, because the Catholic Church is very much into thought crimes. Thou shalt not covet, which is just desire. So they don't just want your actions to be right, they want your thoughts to be right also. I get that it's wrong to bang my neighbor's wife, but why is it wrong to think about banging my neighbor's wife? I don't see a problem with that. I do it all the time. But I digress. So here I am at 10 years old. They're explaining confessions to me. They're explaining sin to me. But it didn't make sense. Again, I think we were about 2 weeks in. I raise my hand. They call me and I say, I don't understand. And again, I'm 10 years old. I don't understand. You've been saying that God is all knowing, all seeing, all powerful, everywhere. Why would I need to talk to this guy? They didn't like that question. And they couldn't answer that question. And so, as an aside, my opinion as an adult is if your belief system cannot withstand the questions of a 10-year-old, you have a faulty belief system. Because again, as an adult, there is not one thing that I believe that I cannot explain. That does not mean that everything I believe is right. It doesn't even mean everything I believe is smart. But everything I believe has a foundation that I can articulate. I have a reasoning for every belief I hold. And it doesn't matter who asks me about my belief, I can answer the question. After I asked that question, they marched us down to the rectory. I was the only child who refused to go into confession. And I never have gone into confession. It doesn't fucking make sense. Especially the part where, I did all these shitty things. Here's a math equation in the form of prayers. say 10 of these, 5 of these, and 4 of those, and you'll be fine. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all. To me, anyway. But they called my mother, or maybe it was when she came to pick me up. I'm not sure. But either way, they told her, don't bring him back here. Their religion could not withstand the questions of a 10-year-old. It would have been one thing if they attempted to answer my question and I just didn't understand it. That would make sense. Children don't always understand shit. But they didn't even want to answer in any meaningful way. They were annoyed that I even asked the question. What kind of belief is that? You're betting your whole fucking life on this belief and you can't answer a simple question? That's wild. And that's probably around the time I became an atheist. Blue says the 10-year-old Yoda had more sense than the religion they were trying to cultify him to. Topher says, being wise only makes me lonely until I meet more wise men. Socrates taught me to be humble, though. That's solid, Topher. I agree with all that. Randy says, I quote Jordan Maxwell, I may not know what God is, but I know what God is not. That's pretty solid, too. So again, anybody that wants to come up, feel free. But that's why, as I've gotten older, as I've read more, fast forward from 10 to my teen years, I was talking to people about these things. I don't understand religion, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward again to 23 when I bought my first Bible. And as I'm reading it, I'm going, this is mostly foppish twaddle. There's a lot of begatting, there's a lot of beheading, there's a lot of incest and creep and just heinous shit, a lot of jealousy. And I'm just talking about God. So many times God commanded people to do horrific things to other people. Moses was like a general in God's army, and he commanded Moses, yeah, go wipe that village out. And in one famous particular passage of the Bible, or probably infamous is more appropriate, he says, get rid of all of the men and all of the women who have known men, and keep the young women for yourselves. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of funky shit like that in the Bible. Some biblical stories are fucking wild. And even the Bible's greatest hits that are talked about in church every Sunday, a lot of those stories, they're presented with the energy and the intonation verbally and vocally of, oh, aren't these beautiful stories? Aren't these wonderful examples of God's love? And I'm sitting there going, no to both of those questions. Hell fucking no. Like, what are some of the Bible's greatest hits? Noah's Ark. That's a horrific story. The entire population of Earth was drowned, except for a family of 8. And when you reverse engineer population growth, because I looked into this, the estimates for that time period, around the time that these stories supposedly happen, on Earth, the estimates are there were anywhere from 100 million to 400 million people. So let's be conservative and take the lowest number. 100 million people. You want to be even more conservative and get rid of 90% of that and say 10 million people? 10 million people. 9,999,992 of them were slaughtered by the big man himself, just because he was displeased with his creation and left a family of 8 to survive. And you want me to think of that as a positive story. You want me to rejoice and exult the fact that 8 people survived that? Not to mention that in order to repopulate the earth, we had to have incestual behavior. You want me to ignore all that? Hello, JK. The story of Job is a particularly horrible story that's presented as a good thing. Somehow it's presented as God's love. I beg to differ. Wholeheartedly, I beg to differ. Apparently, God was a betting man. Satan challenged him. He said essentially, I bet I can take the person that loves you most and turn him against you. And God said, all right, I'll take that bet. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to identify the person who loves me the most. And I want you to fuck him up every which way you feel like, except for ending his life. Have at it. Do your worst. Satan said, bet. Plague, pestilence, disease, pain, all sorts of shit. Got rid of his family, got rid of his servants, got rid of his land, got rid of his animals, his livestock. And you know what people say about that story? But God gave it all back. God gave it all back to him. He restored him to health and he gave him everything back. Wrong. The servants never came back. They were just gone. In order to win the bet, God was content to have his servants, these innocent people that did nothing wrong, destroyed, perished, gone, just so God could say, I told you so. That's supposed to be a nice story? And there's so many fucked up stories like that. The story of Adam and Eve is fucked up. Let's get this straight. You create 2 people, and you create them without the ability to discern good and evil. They don't know how to do that. They don't know what that is. Because you've placed the knowledge inexplicably for good and evil in a fruit that you inexplicably put in the midst of their garden that you prepared for them. And guess what? Chances are they either never would have found that fruit, or if they ate it, they would have eaten it innocently because they didn't know. But even though you told them, don't eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge, they didn't know what good and evil was. So why would they think it was wrong to eat the fruit? And isn't it interesting? Two things. The snake told them the truth. And he essentially told them that God doesn't want you to eat this because he would be jealous of someone knowing what he knows. And secondly, God lied. He told them if they ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge that they would perish. And they ate the fruit, and they did not perish. How is that a story of God's love? How is that a good story? In any fucking way, shape, or form. It ain't. So as I read, and I saw all of these horrible stories, and I saw Jesus, damn it, this fly won't go away. And I saw that Jesus cursed a fig tree because he was unhappy with it somehow. That's fucking bizarre. I saw Jesus allude to commanding someone to do violence. Right? I saw the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. I'll just give you the highlights. 2 angels visit the town. One of the villagers takes the angels in. The townspeople, they surround the house, and they demand entry because they want to bang the angels. I'm not making that up. And you know what the compromise was? No, I'm not going to let you bang the angels, but take my daughters instead. Then there's the story of Onan, where we get the word onanism from. So during those times, the late BC and early AD times in the Middle East, one of the traditions, which is spelled out in the Bible, this is not my conjecture, this is not outside the Bible, this is described explicitly. When a woman lost her husband, if that husband had a brother, he got to bang the widow until the widow produced a male heir. Onan tried to be slick. He obviously wanted to bang his sister-in-law, because he did, but he, quote unquote, cast his seed upon the rock, which means he blasted off outside of her, right? And all his little swimmers went to waste. God didn't like that at all, so he clipped Onan. He took him off the roster. He was gone. This is God's love? How about what he did to Abraham? And I'm just riffing. These are just coming to me in no particular order. He told Abraham that he had to sacrifice his son. I mean, he also convinced him that the tips of peens were somehow evil. Convinced him to chop off the tip of his own peen. But he got Abraham whipped up into a frenzy, to the point that Abraham took his son by the hand, walked him away from his home, put him on some kind of makeshift stone pillar, grabbed a sharp, pointy weapon, and lifted it up, ready to plunge it into his son's chest. And at the last second, God was like, I was just kidding. Was it Abraham or was it, whatever, yeah. But I mean, really? That's a lovely story to people? That's a nice story? That's an example of God's love? Because, I mean, God would have had a problem with me if he had told me to do that to my son. I'm sure I would have gotten taken out, because there was no way that would have been happening. But that's the poison of religion, is that it convinces you that these things are good. It convinces you that these horrifying stories, these horrifying practices and beliefs and rituals are somehow good. In Deuteronomy and Leviticus, it spells out all the different sins and all the different ways to handle those sins and the difference between a sin and an abomination. And for anybody that doesn't know, an abomination is an automatic, we gotta take you out. Right? Eating shellfish is described as an abomination. But so is an unwed woman having relations with a man. In that case, the people of the time were instructed to drag that woman through the town to her father's doorstep and stone her until she perished. Is this good stuff? Topher says philosophers get sent to purgatory in Dante's Inferno. Well, yeah, that's a staple of religion, right? Is to make you fearful all the time. So, since nobody's come up so far, I might wrap this up. I'll give you a few more seconds to decide if anybody wants to come up and talk about whatever they feel like it. Either keep this topic going or change it to another. Doesn't matter to me. But I'm definitely tired. And I'm more tired than I was an hour and 7 minutes ago when I started. There's no request button. Oh, that's interesting. I did invite a couple people up. Let me try to invite you up, Blue. Let's see what happens there. Okay, Blue, I've just invited you up. Oh, I see you've changed your username finally from D's Nuts to Mush Love. So this happened before on TikTok where there was no requests button and no one could request even if I invited them. So Blue, let me know if you see a request button. Oh, I see Amy requested up, so that's good. All right, so Amy somehow had a request button.
Well, it works.
Hello,
There's no
Amy.
boxes. There's no boxes on the side. You have to hit the little guest, the little two little people at the bottom, and hit request. But there's no boxes.
Oh, yeah, that's not unusual. That happens based on the layout. So, yeah. So just in case nobody knows that, right next to the comment box, there's an icon with blue and red people overlapping each other. So that might be the way to come up. Maybe everyone doesn't know that. So Blue said try now, and I hit accept, Blue. So there you go. So how you doing, Amy?
I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent.
I think
Appreciate that.
we were all itching to jump up, but there was no option to join. And then when you sent one, it kicked me out of TikTok and I had to change my settings again. So I think there's some upgrade going on with TikTok.
All right, fair enough. How you doing, Blue?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. So you were itching to come up, so now you're up. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Oh, it was actually kind of cool that we couldn't request because we could hear your thoughts straight through, and it kept going, and it was still invigorating and powerful and
Thank you.
moving in a sense that it's so refreshing to hear it because we're so indoctrined into fear, and if it came down to it and majority of us had to fight for what I'm hoping majority of us fight against a bully at our age now or even younger or whatever age in your life, that you'd be able to defend them and have something in you that fires you up like, whoa, 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 that's wrong. Kind of like what we're seeing with ICE agents, and people stepping in regardless of their location and being like, this is not right. No, no, no. What is happening? You're trying to make things go back. And we saw this play out in history. We're not going to let this happen again. And the same kind of goes for religion, where it's like, there was a point in my life being one of 5 females, all 1 year apart, and being raised Roman Catholic. And we went to church every Sunday. And it wasn't until we were confirmed that my mom said, you're free. Now you have the base to choose. And this is remarkable on her part. And I get it now, how amazing this was. And I wish more people could be this way. She wanted to teach us the routine and the structure. But once we were confirmed, she said, you're free to choose now. You will not be judged by me. My father never went to church. He had his own religion in his own heart. And she said, you won't be judged in this family I've created. But I wanted to show you what the world, majority of powerful elite world, let's say, I should say, not majority, but, and that was a very powerful moment in my life because it was like, I remember being 6 in a booth and saying, if we wanted to be a doctor, can I be that? Yeah, you can. You want to be a pilot? Can I be that? Yes, you can. Can I be this, that, and whatever? And then when it came to a priest, she said, no. And here she is teaching 5 independent women, children, all 5 girls. My dad clearly was looking to have a boy, and God made that story, if there is a higher power, different for a reason, and we all know it now. But there was a point where I remember distinctively even what quarter of the pew I was in at St. Teresa's, and my name is Teresa, by the way, which is ironic because I admired this church because it's like, oh, cool. And it was spelled with an H. And I said, I was like, all right, here's this thing, this routine. We follow this routine, and every Sunday I go to church, and we sit there, and I have ADHD, so I'd be daydreaming about the fly and the glass wall, and I wasn't paying any attention. But I remember saying once I kind of started to come to reality as a late bloomer in functioning, I want to be a priest. Look how all these people admire him, and look at all these people just, up and down, kneel, stand in this routine, this pattern. I want to be that. And when she said, I had to have been like 6, it might have been my first memory. And I said to her, oh, well, what can I do? Can we be that? And she goes, it was the first time. She said, no, you can't. And I said, well, why not? Because you're a girl. And that was the first time, I think, not being equal set in me at a very young age. And when I started to question, well, that's not right, and anytime she would say what was told, she was told to teach us as being God fearing. And there's this thing that you have to worship outside of you. I questioned it because I'm like, well, if this guy's so loving and cool, well, why can't I do that? And just because I'm a girl. And that's where my women's rights, I'm grateful for it, advocacy has come from in a very polite and articulate manner. Because I realized at that moment, I'm about to go against something that's way bigger than even women and what it is today, and the fear and how people get so angry. You do not talk politics and you do not talk religion if you want to hold on to your family values. But a lot of the people that have so much to say about religion haven't even read the Nag Hammadi. They haven't read any scripture. They actually, majority haven't even read the Bible. But they know one thing, and that is if you fear this thing or question it, you're doomed to go to the devil. And they believe that and can't break that cult in itself. And that, as just a 6-year-old child, I went against that and always poked the bear. And I had one sister even who used to say, Tree, why don't you say grace? And I'd be like, yeah, okay, no problem. To Buddha. And I swear my soul, and I didn't even realize your name is Yoddah Buddha. I just put that together right now. But I used to put my hands together and say, to Buddha. My dad would be like, enough, enough, enough. Diana, stop poking her. Because it was a joke to me. And I didn't like the way that you looked at the murals, and it was all white men in these weird robes. And I'm like, we were also raised in the ghetto of Cambridge, Boston, and we didn't have it easy. And I had friends that were of every nationality. My best friend to this day is like off the boat Cuban, and maybe not as legal as things should be. And I love him. And he's like one of the reasons America was great at one point. And it's just hard.
I don't know what that point is, but since we have other people here, let me just move on to say hello to a few other people. The KTA family has joined en masse, and I love that. So let's start with Traffic Man. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm excellent. I was people couldn't figure out how to request up, and it turned out that I went on a long rant about religion as a result. So you guys showed up right after I was done with that. So that might be a blessing. But anyway, AC, how you doing, brother?
The man with the plan. How are you, friend?
I'm good. I was loving what you were showing on your live. I was only able to catch 45 minutes of it, but I was absolutely loving it. Nick Fuentes is a particularly interesting dysfunctional person to me because he is a self-hating minority. I love how often he kept saying we and our thing and us. And I'm like, man, they don't think of you that way, man. You're a useful tool to them, and you're a massive tool because you're an asshole.
That part, yes. I think that he will be able to scoot in and maybe live in one of these white only fucking
Probably not.
segregation communities.
Probably not. Because we've seen this before. This ain't new, okay? We've seen racists utilize useful idiots like Fuentes, and then when it comes time for the rubber to meet the road, they're like, oh, no, you're good.
So yeah, okay, and I can see that. I can see that. It's kind of like the what's the guy that we no longer talk about? Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, that's a perfect example, right?
Self-hating
Like,
minority. Absolutely.
yep. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Well, I agree with you, Yoda. Love that.
Unfortunately, we have to talk about him because he's running for governor for the state of Ohio.
That's all right. We won't be talking about him long. Uh, I mean, because he's a twit, and I get it. He's got the money, he's got the cachet and all that other shit, but he's a twit. I mean, at the end of the day, I think people in Ohio are not really going to be digging what he's saying, but of course there's a chance. Anyway, Danny, how you doing, my friend?
All right, just left AC's live. It was great. Um, we had a good turnout of people, as you saw when we were there. He had a lot more lights at the end there. He was just clacking them up.
Of
But yeah, it was a
course.
great live. The subject matter was superb, and I'm glad to be back here with you again tonight,
Thank
Yoda.
you.
I've been
Thank
away
you.
for a couple of days.
Yeah, man. You're always welcome, and we always miss you when you're not here. And yeah, well, I'm lagging a little bit on likes because I haven't been asking people, I haven't been reminding people to tap. So, folks, we are way, way behind the pace of a normal night. So I'm hoping that in the next 40 minutes or so, we can get me to 100,000 likes. I believe in you. More people are coming in. The KTA raid was absolutely wonderful and helpful. I saw Cherry announce it, KTA raid, and then AC said the same thing. So that made my heart flutter a little bit. That was exciting to me.
Hell yeah. Well, that is a challenge accepted. Chat, there's 43 of us in here. Let's get to slapping. We have 40 minutes to get 3/4 of what we got already. We can get this taken care of. We've gotten 25K down since he's been live. Let's take care of this man. He is absolutely here to let people have conversations, and the way that he conversates really makes everybody think. I'm sure everybody in here knows that, but I absolutely love this wordsmith. So let's fucking get him to 100K likes. I'm tapping right now.
You're the best. You're the best. So Blue, was there anything in particular about what I was talking about that was interesting to you, or perhaps a different perspective? I'm kind of reaching here, but I'm curious as to what resonated with you.
I like the fact that um, my suspicions have been confirmed in the sense of, it's not just me thinking that this is weird and I'm going to hell for thinking that this is weird. You
Yeah,
know, like I kept it quiet and I just survived, and that was that. And the more you get educated on reading things other than the Bible, if you've even read the Bible, which I'm learning that people who are the most religious haven't even read
yeah.
it.
The
And
vast majority of
until,
them that I've met have not read it.
yeah, they
They're
can't even
shocked when
quote
I
it.
tell them parts of it, and they're like, "That's not in there," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah,
And the beauty
and
of it is, we
it's
never have to argue about it. Just
yes.
open the fucking book. There it is.
And maybe that's what drew me into your convo in the very first time I ever joined your live, like a few weeks ago, was the fact that you weren't openly atheist. You were just kind of questioning and openly okay with, like, I don't have the fear people have reading something different than the Bible and being open-minded. That is a very amazing trait, and that is something that can break that curse of control. And if you actually take the time to read it, and if you even want to go as far as I did and read the Bible and change he to she and those pronouns to a female version of it, at the end of it, if you have a heart, you'll actually say, well, shit, I kind of feel bad for him. He was totally left out of this, like, but that's a perspective of a woman, and there's so many other biblical texts that came before it and so many iterations of it. And I just felt very at home to have someone, a male, even more or less, as much as I'd love to empower women, but a male and a black male be able to say, like, well, hold on, I felt the same way at a really young age. That spoke to me.
Excellent.
That made a common ground, and that moved me a bit. So I appreciate that a lot. I
Excellent.
don't think you realize. I'm still going to process this after we get
No,
off
that's
this
great
call.
feedback. I appreciate that. And, I will splinter off for a moment because I am really disappointed with minorities who are Christians or Catholic in any way, because that religion was literally beaten into us. And it's like, and I get how that works. Like, once you beat the first people, then they're going to tell their children, oh, this is what we believe now. But we know that that's what happened. So, like, why are you taking on the religion of your oppressors? If you're going to take on a religion at all, which I don't recommend to anybody, but if you're going to do it, why the religion of your oppressors? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all.
I mean, just look at the pictures and the texts. Like, look at the stained glass. It's white men.
Yeah.
They cut out women, and they're wearing robes. There's no
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
And it's
And
just
the interesting
it's
thing is
slavery.
that Jesus was never described in the Bible in the flesh. And very often people will say, well, yes, he was, the bronze feet and the hair of wool. So, in the most insane part of the Bible, the last book, right, which is just cuckoo for coconuts, off the chain. It doesn't sound like any other part of the Bible. So we suspect that it was written much later, but it's just fucking like I didn't have enough oxygen feeding my brain crazy. Okay. And John relays a dream that he had about Jesus. And in that dream, he had feet of bronze and hair of wool. So never in the flesh was Christ ever described. And the devil's appearance was never described in the Bible either. It was only in the Renaissance that artists started drawing the devil. And that's where red and horns, that's when all that came in. That has nothing to do with anything that's in the Bible.
I believe that a lot of the script was stolen from Egypt, as close as it was to Rome and Greece, and a lot of it was translated over thousands of years. But I think our origins come from African American, and whether it be African American or Black, but a position in the world where that was the majority. And I think that truth was stolen through them through some Bible or text, and it's been translated 1,000 times. But why is it every time you take Greek mythology and go even further back, it goes to Egypt, go further back, it brings us right back to the same root and right back to
Yeah,
the
I mean,
same
it's
spot.
it's
And
all like the Bible. If you want to look at the Bible as a representation of Catholicism / Christianity, it's a Frankenstein religion. It was stolen from several other tomes that were much older.
Yep.
Like the story of Christ is the story of Horus and Osiris, and I know people like to dispute that, but we have the evidence for it.
You are
It was,
spot on.
and we're talking
Science
about
is proof.
1800 years before the
Right.
time of Christ. Okay. And the Ten Commandments comes from the Tibetan Book of the Dead or Tibetan Book of Dying. I forget which one it's called, but that comes from that. So they took all of the popular stories, and this also was largely done during the Council of Nicaea, when Constantine got everybody together every year for 26 years and shaped what was going to be in the Bible. And that was in the year 325 is when that started. So even if someone believes that there is even a remote possibility that the Bible texts are related to actual events, that's a real long telephone game to have any faith that any of that shit is accurate. And we know if you study the Bible text very closely, you'll see where the mistakes occurred. And like you'll see this one passage, I forget exactly where it is, where a guy, because they were scriveners back then, they had to copy everything by hand. And this guy wrote the same sentence twice accidentally, and it made it into the final cut. And you talk about translations, and transliteration is a huge problem with the Bible. Because, people talk about, oh, it's the Greeks and this and that. I was like, no, that's not even the first language. It was Aramaic. That was the first language. And here's a big, big indicator there's two big indicators that trusting the King James Version might not be your best move. Number one, it was commissioned by a fucking king. The dude had an agenda to control the population, right? But more importantly than that, or maybe equally as important, between the Sinai text, which is the original Bible, the oldest extant Bible, right? And the King James Version, there are over 13,000 differences. That's a lot of editing. What did a king not want his subjects to know?
And I'll tell you one thing I will say, and Reese, I actually wrote this down before joining your live because I had a weird feeling this would come up. But when you have a species that suppresses a few qualities in other species, it's often because they possess something that is a threat to them. And I believe in my heart of hearts, maybe it's intuition, maybe I don't know what it is, but I've felt this from a very young age that men not of white have something, and women of all have something, and that is the purpose or reason they were suppressed, or we did something so bad, and at the moment in time in history we were jailed, and at that particular moment in time, white was elevated, male was elevated, they took advantage of that situation. But I catch myself saying to this guy sometimes, like, okay, we did our jail time. It's time for equality now. Whatever we did in the past to deserve this, we did our sentence. Let's end it. Can we just hit equality now? But now the white man is so ahead of its own self that it's like, I hear the most articulate and beautiful things come from, I apologize to anyone who's going to be insulted when I say this that's listening, of a white man. They will join the good old boys club in a hot second. And the only man that I've ever heard stand up for me and never make me feel like shit or never make me feel less than a queen at the end of the day is a black man or an orange man or a yellow man or any man that's not white. Like, I've never been more respected because we have this kind of side eye, like, different degrees, but we look at each other and we're like, we know. And it's like, when is
That's
the
because
white
black
empire?
men know how to get laid.
And you're well endowed.
That's the
Egyptian
myth, right?
thing.
Traffic Man, your thoughts?
Digress.
On what was just said, or no?
Not necessarily. Unless you are
Toss an
motivated to do
orange in
so.
the comments. Bricks.
No, I am not motivated to do so. Yeah, the last book of the Bible really does it for me, if you will.
Yeah,
in the
Revelation.
sense where, yeah, where historically, I mean, it almost didn't make the cut, and there's such a stark difference between all the other books, Old Testament included, and then bam, here's Revelations. And the part that really pisses me off about a lot of modern iterations of Christianity, starting in the 1800s here in America, they really hammer that book home. And I just, yeah. I can't. I just it's not for me.
Well, you don't believe in like lions with scorpion tails and shit?
So the way that was explained to me by multiple people in my life is the locusts festering in the desert or whatever were actually Apache helicopters. Because remember, John in this, and they don't consider it a dream; they consider it a vision, which is funny because we don't like wizardry stuff, but we're going to give the guy who wrote this book the pass on having visions of the future and stuff.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? The chariots that spouted fire were actually Abrams tanks, and I'm looking at these people like, D- what?
So wait, let me see if I understand this.
Yes.
They believe that people around the time of 33 AD who didn't know what bacteria was already had Abrams tanks.
No, he was seeing the final battle at not what is it? The
Jerusalem,
land.
Armageddon.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Um, what they were seeing were the Abrams tanks and the Apache helicopters, and their translation of seeing those things were chariots that spout fire and dragonflies and stuff like that. And I'm like, you do understand that, like, that's not how we wage this stuff anymore, right? It's that we don't have battalions of tanks rolling across the desert and da 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 da. And, that's not how this works. And well, that's what this man saw. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Thanks. I'm out.
Fantastic. That's, and here's the thing. When you're trying to justify crazy shit, one explanation is as good as another,
Exactly.
right? AC, any thoughts on this madness or anything else?
I am not elevated enough for that conversation. Just saying.
Imagine
I just
my
started
misfortune
relaxing
of having to face life sober.
right. So I do know about hieroglyphs and them they are showing certain things and stuff, and like at the end of the day, I'm not a religious man, and I feel like maybe the man Jesus was on this earth, but the real message is to fucking love one another and have empathy for the other guy, you know. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not religious by any means, but I feel like he had a good message. If he was a person that did walk this earth, he had a good message. And if
Yeah,
you're not
unfortunately,
religious,
there's no evidence
be
of that,
fucking
but
kind to others.
could
If
be,
you
yeah.
are religious, be fucking kind to others.
And if you're
That's it.
not, and isn't it interesting that statistically atheists give more to charity than religious people do?
Yep, that is statistically correct. Yes, 100%. That's all I'll
Interesting.
say.
No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Before we get to Danny, we have a new guest. Logan, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? Can you hear me okay? My service is pretty bad right now.
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, what's up, AC? I've been following AC for a while.
I like AC.
Good to see
As
you, brother.
as do
Yeah,
us
no,
all. We all follow AC. This conflagration of people is made possible largely because of AC.
Yeah, I was in AC's live, him and Cherry, the night of the election, so it was pretty
Oh
pretty
wow.
rough night.
Yeah, that was a
I
pretty rough night, man.
unfortunately, to my own dismay, was not aware of those two at that time. I only learned about AC right around January of this year.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
it's a better
Yeah,
late than
Logan's
never
been
type deal.
with us since like month 3 or 4.
Nice.
He came in relatively early, but
That's
Logan,
good
it's
stuff.
good to see you, man. The have you followed the host first?
yeah,
off?
I did, sir.
Very good, very good. All right, ask this man your question. He's gonna have an answer for you.
Well, I had a question, but I wanted to chime into y'all's religious stuff. Real
Yeah,
quick.
please.
So I am a Christian. Maybe it's somewhat. I've went through some of the deconstructive stuff, so maybe it's a little bit of just how I was raised. The fear, the scared, right? But I still consider myself a Christian, and I think Christian nationalism is the biggest problem in this country. So I'll call that out all day. And like AC was saying about being empathetic, that's like one of Jesus's teachings was what you do for me, or what you do for the least of your brothers and sisters, you would do for me. So it blows my mind how like people go to church on Sunday, pray to Jesus, donate to their pastor, vote for MAGA, and then laugh at deportations, laugh at alligator Alcatraz, and laugh and call people that are homeless bums. So that's not
Yeah.
real Christians. That's the people Jesus fought in the Bible. Whether he's real or not, they're reading, they're practicing bad stuff. But I was
Yeah,
gonna say something
that's a
funny.
severe disconnect, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say something funny though when y'all were talking about Revelation. Sometimes I read my Bible and I'm like, these guys were on some DMT or some shrooms or something. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, they had to be on something good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true of the whole Bible, but particularly of, that last book, Revelation, is just off the charts wild.
Yeah. Well, most Christians and most preachers are actually scared to talk about it. Usually, they scare you into getting you to tithe and stuff like that. If you've ever been,
Yeah. And my resentment about that is that we know what the church does with that money, at least in part, and maybe even in large part, they use that money to defend child predators. And that's problematic to me. So,
yes, I would just kind of
what team are you going to really be on? Like, if you say, right, because a lot of these people that wear their religion on their chest, they'll say that, oh, that we're all about the children. We don't want children harmed and all that stuff. Yeah, but you're supporting it. You are literally supporting it.
right. No, I mean I agree with you, man. It's like I said, I'm like in that. Were you former Christian or former?
Yeah, I guess almost everybody is, right, in America. Like,
Yeah, I mean
and
there's a lot of people
being
that,
Hispanic, I was raised in the religion, but I rejected it by the time I started to reject it by when I was 7, and I rejected it fully by the time I was 10.
yeah. I mean, same, dude. Honestly, same here. Like, I don't want to be too long winded or nothing, but as a kid, I asked those questions. Like, why are we so lucky that we got the right book, but the Muslims in the other countries they're just bad? And
Right,
that's just what my dad told me. They're bad. They want to hurt
right.
us.
And isn't
Well, I
it
joined.
hilarious that the
Give it to you.
Muslims,
Hold on.
the Catholics, and the Jews are all praying to the same Abrahamic God?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So I joined the Navy, and like the same people that hate me here in my own country, when I was in Iraq, Afghanistan, Dubai, Bahrain, they invited me in their house to give me tea. They pray for us, even though we're doing awful things. Not me personally, but our government.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, man. Yeah. I didn't want to get caught up on religion. I did want to get an opinion from you and AC on something real quick, and I'll mute
Sure.
myself.
Of course.
So I've talked to AC about it a little bit. Back during the election, we still have a little thing. It's like a veterans group that, we try to register veterans and stuff and get people to vote. Some of the stuff we do is through the VA, so we got to be like nonpartisan. We just make sure they're registered to vote. When you talk to the person one-on-one, you can give your personal beliefs, but mainly we're just making sure they're registered, blah, 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 got their IDs. Our former governor, Roy Cooper, North Carolina is a great state for a Democrat governor. Always will be, I think. Our former governor, Roy Cooper, just announced he's running for Senate. I think we're going to win that by a landslide. Here's the opposition that we're running into, and I wanted to get y'all's opinion on this. So when Donald Trump got elected or inaugurated, he signed an executive order that pretty much stated there's 2 genders, male and female. Now, most people know that there's men and there's women. I think when they say things like that, they're just disrespecting people who are confused or possibly a part of the LGBT. They're making a mockery of different lifestyles, in my opinion. But
So can you just clarify? You said people who are confused. Who are you referring to?
I mean, maybe you have somebody with gender dysphoria who's at a younger age. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not sure confused is the best word to describe that, but all right, I see where you're going for, but go ahead.
Yeah, my apologies. I mean, I
No,
trying to sound
there's
wrong.
no offense taken.
Um,
I was just unclear about what you meant.
So I guess just to give you a little context, the best part about having a Democrat governor in a Republican state is he has the power of veto. So the Republican legislator, when the governor called them to pass a budget and pass, several things is on his agenda, they went straight MAGA. And one of the bills they passed was in accordance with federal law and President Donald J. Trump, the U.S. government has recognized two genders, male and female. We want to pass this and make this North Carolina law to protect women from violent predators in our bathrooms. Just a lot of rhetoric. So the governor vetoed it, and then the Republican House just overrid that yesterday, and they're going to basically make that go into law. Now, my question is like, what does it accomplish? But when we go talk to people about this, my dad, for example, I told you he's conservative. He says, "Yeah, I told you that liberal governor you voted for, he's out here trying to confuse your kids with different genders and stuff." Like, how do you combat this stuff? Like, they're not trying to do that. They're just trying to have civil rights.
So what I'm hearing is that the governor
He
tried to
vetoed it.
veto this bill. He did veto this bill, and then they just overrode that.
Yeah, because they do have a supermajority. in
Yeah,
North
if you
Carolina.
come back with, you
yeah,
can vote
if
again
it's
on
a
it. So
supermajority.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Actually,
that's the only part I was.
Actually, AC, let me correct you. We beat the supermajority in 24. There was actually 2 or 3 Democrats that voted to override the veto as well, which surprised me.
Yeah, that is kind of surprising, and those
it's
Democrats
not it's
are
not
probably
surprising
going
to me. It's all this is politics. Look at
Right.
I mean,
I just, I,
let,
But I
let
guess
me
my
I just
question-
I just want to make a point about that because I know and I've been someone who's indulged in this also, but I'm not indulging in it anymore because I want to be a realist about this. And here's an example. Barack Obama was sworn in January 20th, 2009. The minimum wage was raised in July of that year. He was in 8 more years. Was it raised again? No. Were taxes on the rich imposed? No. When Biden came into office, same thing. No increase in minimum wage, no taxes on the rich, even though he talked about doing that, right? And originally it was part of his Build Back Better, right? Or whatever it was called. And yet, so all of this like, oh, the Democrats are so much better than the Republicans. I will grant you that the track record of the Democrats is vastly superior than the track record of the Republicans, but it really is two sides of the same coin.
absolutely.
I agree with that statement. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like there is, you can tell that it is a game to them at some point.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I've probably told AC this before, but like growing up here in the South, I grew up. Hell, I was probably conservative when I enlisted in the Navy. Like I'd be borderline MAGA if I didn't like open my mind up. I'll be honest, but when I look back at statistics and data, my nerd side comes out. What happened to Obama, and honestly, in Trump's first term, is what we got to do in these midterms. So, like when people ask me about Obama, like when they talk so bad about Obama, this is my 2 arguments here. Is one, I don't know how Obama would have actually been because we elected him in 08. He came in 09. He lost the Senate, I believe, his first 2 years. So he was like a lame duck president. And then he ran a campaign in 2012 and he won again. And he had Nancy Pelosi in the House, but he had John Boehner was his name in the Senate. So, I mean, Obama's like the majority of his presidency was like just kind of lame ducked or just stuff voted down. Then you got so this is my new theory, the pendulum. So then the pendulum swang to Donald Trump.
You're 0
So
for
you
2.
got
It's
Trump.
actually swung, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know. My bad, man. English ain't the best here in the South. But
So the
yeah,
pendulum swung.
yeah, it swung, and then you got Donald Trump, and I think it's going to swing again, and you're going to get somebody. I mean, I'm hoping somebody more progressive, but every time it swings, it's going to keep going back and forth. So the question is like, when do people work together? Like the Epstein stuff is a distraction in my book. I mean, yeah, let's release it. Let's see what happened. Anybody's on it, hold them accountable. But to me, it's not left versus right anymore. It's the top billionaire class versus the poor folks. As long as me and you can be divided, that's what they want to do.
I want
That's their
to build on your pendulum metaphor. Because if you've ever actually looked at a physical pendulum,
okay.
there's a way to take the part that swings and hook it to one side so that it's stationary, right? What does that mean? That means you're assuming, rightfully so, that the pendulum will have an opportunity to swing to the other side. I think there's a possibility, since we're seeing fascism before our very eyes taking over America in all the most important ways, that there might not ever be another chance to vote. We might not have the midterms. If we do have the midterms, I'd be shocked if we had the presidential election in 2028. I'm not
You think it's that
convinced
bad now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look at the train wreck, the swath of destruction that's been accomplished in 6 months. They are shutting down everything that benefits the average person. And they're doing so in the most cruel, heartless ways that you can imagine. They are taking food out of children's mouths. They're taking food away from the elderly. They're taking care away from the elderly. They're taking health care away from the sick. They are taking resources away from the disadvantaged. They are following the authoritarian playbook that has been going on through human history, and certainly that has existed within the last 100 years. They are doing everything that fascist governments have ever done. So why would I think they wouldn't do that?
No, I agree. No, I agree with you. I think AC might back me up on this. Like I'm pretty progressive in a lot of my views, but at the same time, I talk about this a lot. A lot of my veteran friends or military friends that are progressives or like the Bernie Bros, if you will, from like 2016. They cost us some votes in 24. Like I had some of the most smartest. I'm talking like people that are in law school, super lefties. They voted for their dog or themselves because they were like, "Oh, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, they're the same." Well, sorry, one of my best friends voted for Jill Stein. So my question to him now is, where the fuck is Jill Stein? Kamala Harris wouldn't be
Jill
deporting people
Stein
to
is
Florida.
where she always is between elections. She's like a cicada. She only comes out every
No,
4
I agree.
years.
I agree. So that's where we gotta when I talk about that pendulum swinging is like, a lot of people say, I don't know how he went from Obama to Trump. I see a lot of like corporate Democrat followers like, I can't believe we had 8 years of Obama and then we got Trump. Okay, well, why did you go from 8 years of Obama to Hillary Clinton? Like we could have progressed on Obama, but we stayed in the corporate threshold, and we've got to break that. We've got to break the APAC. We've got to break the super PACs. We've got to break. And you guys can disagree with me, but I'm telling you, it's not gonna win elections.
So,
Right.
so
And I see what you're saying, man. And
go ahead, finish your
to a
thought.
degree, I am right there with you. I am of the belief that yes, we will have midterms. If they try to take the election or the elections away from us before 26, there is going to be fucking chaos in the streets. it will literally be us,
Maybe.
the people, dragging that man out of office, or a CW happens.
Why hasn't it
however,
happened already?
Can I tell you? Can I
because
tell
they,
you?
And look,
apparently
there's no
haven't-
way I
they
can tell you you're
apparently
wrong,
haven't
right?
crossed the
There's no
line.
way I can tell you you're
You know what I
wrong. But
mean?
here,
Like-
but this is the same question I have of people like, for instance, Grizzly just joined us. So this is the same question I have of people who are now, just now, going, oh, Donald Trump is a problem. And I'm like, you had 10 years to figure that out. How did you not see that? Like, okay, I'll give people the benefit of the doubt because most people didn't know who he was in 2015 and 2016.
Right, Senator from Illinois.
I get that. I get that. It was a celebrity worship thing. They saw him on television. They know he's rich, so they thought he was a special kind of dude. He talked the talk. I get all that, right? But we had 4 years of a failed administration. Then we had 4 years of his criminality being rolled out time after time after time after time to the point of 91 indictments. 91 counts, rather, in 4 separate jurisdictions. 4 separate states, I believe. Right? And so, and of course, he was convicted of 34 of those counts. So we saw all of you MAGA hats and former MAGA hats saw this. And you still thought, yeah, that, oh, yeah, convicted of rape, another 26 accusations, all the fucking sound bites that we have of him saying disgusting things about young women. And he's a convicted felon. Yeah, he's still our guy. What the fuck is that? And I asked that rhetorically because of what AC said, that like the idea that, oh, if this next thing happens, then it's going to get bad. And again, I can't say that's wrong. There's no way for me to argue against that. But I'm not enthusiastic about the idea that America has a line that can't be crossed.
Can I respond to that, and I'll mute?
Oh,
Of course.
Just real quick though, the line has definitely been crossed. I will absolutely agree with you, and I've been saying that since the election. Like, as soon as he admitted that shit on stage, there's still investigations. Whatever. It's funny because I was talking about this a little earlier, but the Democrats were walking that line. Like, do we want to be civil and not cross it, and be the purveyors of justice, and keep our hands clean, or are we going to get in the fucking mud with these guys and start playing but if they want to play dirty, let's fucking play dirty. Like, let's play their game in their face.
And so I will return to that idea because that is a very perilous place to be. So I would definitely want to examine that. But go ahead, Logan. Finish your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I want to say to AC real quick. Let's play dirty in the primaries. Like, if we got a progressive candidate, look at Zoran, for example, in New York. I just wanted to see the guy do good, and he topped Andrew Cuomo amazingly. I want to see more of that happening, right? More progressives winning in the primaries. But at the end of the day, I've done talked about Roy Cooper. Do I think he's a great dude? No, he's an establishment Democrat with name recognition. But at the end of the day, when I get in the ballot box, and going by Yoddah's thoughts on this, if we do have a midterm and it's some MAGA hat wearing candidate versus Roy Cooper, I'm going to vote for Roy Cooper because I know he'll vote no to ICE deportations, ICE, more militarized ICE police officers. So let's get in the mud in the primaries. Let's get out here and like knock on doors and get people involved and like actually take back the Democrat Party. Because does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, folks, we got 61,000 likes. You guys have been crushing it since we were at 25,000. We asked you for more. You're crushing it. Keep going. I do believe before we wrap up that you beautiful people will deliver 100,000 likes. I've done it before. I believe I can do it again, but only because I believe in you. So keep
Oh, you get the
rocking.
100K tonight if I'm in your panel.
Oh,
I mean,
you're the best. So before we go to anybody else, Grizzly Bear, welcome in. How the fuck are you
Welcome.
doing?
I'm doing good. So I did a panel tonight and we actually had the same topic talk
Nice. And I see
tonight.
Jessica's here. Hi, Jessica. Great to have you as always. Thank you for the
And
heart me.
a lot of people were talking on my panel and I get this topic a lot of how, how we can get the Democrats and the Republicans because everybody says, and Corey brought this up, Corey on my panel. He says he says, Grizzly, you're more of a centrist because you like to bring the Democrats and the Republicans together. He says you don't ever like to because you always play devil's advocate, you like to bring them together and like to see the parties get along. I said, yeah, because that's just how I am. And you can go back and forth on, you know, and I'm not judging anybody by any means. And the way I see it is the powers that behold as president and how you present yourself is how you are. So right now, how Trump is presenting himself, he's presenting himself as a not non-leader, not
When was that
he's
any
not
different?
presenting.
When was that any different? Was he any
Yeah,
different
that's
in 2016?
no, he was not any different in
Okay.
2016, and that's what I'm saying. Biden was Biden was more of a president than Trump is ever going to be,
Yeah,
and
same thing
we
with my
talked
left
about this.
nut.
Yeah, yeah. And we had the same conversation, and I'm like, it goes back to when MAGA hats talk about this stuff. They're like, well, Biden couldn't say two sentences without doing this, doing that. I'm like, why are you guys bringing up the past? Why can't we just talk about the future? You're never going to get anywhere. And it's like these MAGA hats have this little mentality of, oh, Biden this, oh, Biden that. I said, and I'm like, you're never going to get anywhere with these MAGA hats because they're worthless when they're talking to you. Talking to you. When you're talking to
Yeah,
them,
and
they're
they're
worthless.
worthless every other time too. But before I
Yeah.
re-engage with AC's idea, Danny, any thoughts so far?
Well, I got several. I have to go back to what Blue said earlier. Uh, if you'd have met me, Blue, when I was younger, you would have a different opinion about white guys. Okay, I was a nice man when I was younger, and you would have fell in love with me back when I was young.
I
Num-
love it. I
oh,
love
just
the energy.
Danny, you're still nice.
and I know I appreciate it, Grizz. As far as the Bible goes, it's bullshit. That's how I feel about it. It's a book of fiction. It belongs in the
Yeah.
fiction.
And
And
not
like,
even well-written fiction. That's the thing that
no,
bothers me.
no. Matter of fact, matter of fact, Mel Brooks wouldn't even make a movie out of it. That's so bad. The
I
the
mean,
other
I
way,
mean, think just the story of Noah's Ark. I mean, just logistically is one of the dumbest stories I've ever heard.
I
so
will. I
the
will say, Danny, when I first joined Yoda's Live and you came up, being a veteran, I had this predisposition in my mind, like, oh, veteran's gonna take corporate orders, and my dog's hawking a loogie over here. So if you hear weird noises, that's what that is. But I thought you were gonna be someone in the crowd poking the bear, but you weren't. You were one of the very small percentage of people that saw things so clearly during it. You were way ahead of your time. And the fact that you're here, it's honorable to have someone who was very far and few and in between and went through what you went through, protecting our country and our rights the right way, and to be able to take the side of humanity. I was so like from day one, with when I first came on Yoda's, you are a big part of what drew me to this conversation, because I was like floored. I always thought older people in their what do you say, 70, I was like, okay, well, they're a little
75.
bit more 75, okay, EBC. But I thought in my mind, I'm like, they're a little bit harder to sway. They're a little bit more structured. They're a little bit less open-minded. You proved me completely wrong as a human, and showed me that a veteran can actually have the exact same feels that I feel and make my feelings feel valid, and it makes me my feelings feel safe. You give me a microphone, just like we were talking on the last live, where Trump gives his microphone to these people and they sound like they're big and loud and boisterous and whatever, and we're scared to death of them. No, at the end of the day, if it comes down to it and I feel scared, I just lean on my grandfather, or I lean on the veterans, and they've been there, and they're the ones that know. And at the end of the day, we're not versed in battle. I'm not versed in battle. And if our government's being threatened against its own people, I immediately look towards our veterans and I'm like, shit, man, what do we do? Because you guys know, you have been trained in this, and your purpose goes beyond the retirement. And when they start taking that funding away, that's where it starts to break me a little bit, because that's where we really unite. But I just want you to know that, like, oh my God, you would be like, we'd be married straight up.
Hey, folks, we're at 72,000. You guys are just flooring me with your enthusiasm. I can't tell you how much it means to me. Keep it going. I feel it. I can feel 100,000 tonight. Ever since I hit it that one time, I've been a little addicted to the rush of getting there again. So AC, here's what I feel is the dubious position that the good guys are in. And, it's unfortunate to reduce it to something as, silly as good and bad guys, but just for the sake of illustration, right? And examination. So this is my loose theory about this, is that the reason why bad guys prosper is that they will always be willing to do what the good guys are not willing to do, because if the good guys do the same thing as the bad guys do, they're not the good guys anymore. And so there has to be some kind of reckoning that enables good guys to get up to that line and maybe even step across it a little bit without going all the way over. And I just can't figure out what that looks like. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, and I've had many thoughts about this as well. It is it there should always, and we thought that there was a line at some point, but I think with the way Trump operates, he has muddied that area, so that line is a little harder to distinguish with the quote unquote good guys. But I feel like we are getting closer to a point where there will be the crossing of that threshold into serious action with the removal of the president.
So can I say one thing?
Again, the question is
Hold on, Chris.
where is that? When
Can I
is
respond to that too?
How far do we go? That kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's the question that I find hard to answer. Like when I think of this issue in terms of martial arts, right? Since I've been in it for most of my life, I know that I am very responsible in the same way a weapons owner is responsible. I never want to take it out because that means someone's going to get hurt, and it could be me who gets hurt, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, in the case of self-defense, that changes the paradigm. If someone's trying to, rob me of my health, my well-being, or my life, then anything I do in defense of that is justified. And so I'm wondering if we're at the point in America, and I guess wondering really doesn't make sense with everything else I've said. Maybe it's time to look at this in the sense of we are now in self-defense mode, and we have to let go of any pretense about what's right and wrong and just do what's necessary. It's sort of a deontological approach where you make a decision not based on the consequences, but whether the decision is right to make, right? So, which is
Absolutely. Yeah.
illustrated in the Avengers. That's what the whole Thanos snapping half the population out of existence was. That was an illustration of a deontological process. Because he even said it. He talked about the conflict that he had of knowing of the suffering he was going to cause, but he knew that it was right to do.
Absolutely.
So maybe
Yoddah.
that's the point where we are. Go ahead,
Yoddah,
Grizzly.
Yoddah, can I respond to you real quick?
It was Logan? I'm sorry. I thought it was Grizzly. Go ahead, Logan.
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
wanted
take
to
it.
speak too, but Logan.
Oh, okay.
can
So
go first.
Logan, then Grizzly. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be quick. Because I responded to AC and then Grizzly hopped up. Earlier you were talking about, and this can all make sense because I was going to get on what you're talking about now. So when you were talking about how you don't know how people could just justify or like based on everything Trump's done, like his crimes so as someone who grew up in a household like that, I don't agree with it, but I can justify it. So when all these things were happening, we were screaming to the top of our lungs, like, he's convicted of this, this, and this. Well, it's made up about him. It's not true. It's not true. It's fake. It's Biden. It's Obama. It's the Clintons.
So willful
they-
ignorance, basically.
Well, they just believe. Just to give you a backstory again, I don't want to be long winded. I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and Fox News as a child.
Oh, Lord, you never had a chance.
So, well, thank God I got out of that shell. But this. So I was going to say this about if you will, the pew pews, because that's where I wanted to get to, and I think this is kind of where I relate to AC with. We're both, I consider myself a blue collar worker. I'm a CNC machinist. Since I got out of the military, that's what I do, work in manufacturing. So most of the guys I work with are good, good people, good husbands, good family guys, but they voted Trump. They're MAGA. The election was awful. We lost the working class vote.
Which is
You feel me?
antithetical to being a good family man, right? It sounds like maybe they weren't.
Brother, I agree with you. What I'm saying is, when I let these people talk, when I talk politics at work, which you're not supposed to do, they'll say, "Well, I voted for Trump because this, this, and this." So my first question is like, "Yeah, taxes were too high under Biden, weren't they?" And they'll say, "Hell yeah, they were." Well, who wrote the tax code? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so I try to educate them. At the end of the day, we need to get their votes in the midterms.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. I've made this proposal with several MAGA people. You ready for this one? I've said, what if you had a Democrat candidate in the South who ran on, we're going to stop ICE deportations. We're going to stop militarizing our police officers. We're going to create a Medicare for all plan or universal health care. We're going to stand up for the First Amendment. We're going to codify Roe versus Wade for real, a woman's right to choose. And we're also going to stand up for your right to bear arms. There would be a blue wave in the South until the end of history, brother. But we've got to get away from the corporate Democrats. They hate pew-pews, sorry. And I understand the logic behind control. I do. But if you want to get their votes, and I don't know, man. I'm torn on that issue. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a country boy. I hunt, and I've got several. I'm trying to use TikTok friendly language here. I've got several
Logan.
pew-pews. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say that I'm from the East Coast. I was born and raised in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I have carried my whole life. And my father and my four sisters, like this whole idea of these wacky liberals insults me because I'm actually kind of conservative, believe it or not. I believe a woman has a right to choose. I could not go through an abortion, but I would hold my sister's hand if she chose to do that with her body. And that is my choice. Okay. As far as gun reform, there are certain things that should not be in the hands of civilians. And,
Let's be
but we
careful of the words we
all,
use.
Yeah, I love the TikTok shop. Everybody double
That
TikTok
tap.
doesn't
shop
do
is
anything. That
so
doesn't do
cool.
anything.
It used to.
It never
Sorry.
did. The algorithm
It did.
doesn't work like a 5-year-old is distracted by candy.
Everybody send Yoda a galaxy right now if you got
Real
one.
quick, do it.
So,
But
Blue,
there are two
hold that thought
things.
because Grizzly was waiting to speak earlier. So, go
Absolutely.
ahead, Grizzly.
So I've said this, and Yoda, you know where I'm going with this. I've said this
I have
on
no
my
idea
channel.
what you're going to say, but just get to it. Just get to it. Let's go.
So if you guys really, if the Democrats really want to win, and I and I've said this before, you guys got to play in the mud like the Republicans did, because the Republicans got to the voters before you did, and they got out to the social media. They got out
But
to
okay, so this answers the real question. Okay, the Republicans didn't play in the mud. The only thing they did differently is that they lied. Okay, but that is not an excuse for the Democrats because if your opponent is lying, then it's your job to tell the truth better. Okay, because everybody had access to social media. Everyone's got billionaires in their camp. So it was an even playing field, and the Democrats were asleep at the wheel. They did not adopt to social media. They did not get unified in their messaging. They did not announce Kamala Harris as a candidate 15 minutes after Dump announced that he was going to run again in November of 22. They could have done all of that, and they didn't. So,
But Yoda, I would also say, not to interrupt, but and that's why I go back again to that analogy I gave earlier, that the whole pendulum swing. So we had, for example, in North Carolina, I'm very proud of this. I worked on his campaign this year. You had Jeff Jackson, who literally, like his first day after being sworn in, he made a TikTok and was like, "Hey, I'm a freshman Congress member, don't know anything, but I do want to propose some reforms to the VA." And he goes in there, and then like a few weeks later, he talks about how, if you try to propose a bill, it's got to go through a committee in your own party. And if it passes, it goes to the majority party. And then if it gets through that, maybe the House Speaker will take a vote. Well, then he got gerrymandered out of his own district. And once the maps were drawn in North Carolina, he said, "I'm not going to run for re-election because my district does not exist anymore, but I'm going to put my boxing gloves on and get in the ring with them, and I'm going to run for attorney general." Dude, he won by like the highest margin in North Carolina. So there is good people out there getting in the fight. Now, those 2 years he was in the House, did he align himself with the corporate Dems and Hakeem Jeffries as the minority speaker? Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that Jeff voted on that I was like, ooh, you sure he's not funded by APAC? I don't like this.
they're all funded by APAC.
But you've got to, and that's why I keep giving the pin. Maybe that's a bad example, but and that's why I responded to AC the way I did. Like let's get nasty and dirty
Yeah,
in the
that's what I
primaries,
said.
but we've got to beat these people in the November races, is what I'm trying to say, if we want to see change.
That's
Now,
why
Yoda, with your theory, we might not even have a midterm. I don't know.
But if we do, the Democrats are already fucking up. You got this fucking clown, Hakeem Jeffries, putting down Mamdani. It's like, shut the fuck up, man. Why are you doing that? Number one, as a Democrat, why are you doing that? Number two, as a minority, why are you doing that?
And that's why I brought up Mondami earlier. It was like I just wanted to see him do good. I really followed that race.
Yeah,
I
but
just wanted to
obviously
see him do
Mondami's
good.
not the problem. It's the fucking establishment Democrats that are talking shit about him instead of getting behind someone that has promise. But this is what I'm talking about. There are very few clear distinctions between the Democrats and the Republicans, and the way they've handled Mondami is an indication of how they fuck up elections.
I think it's where we're going. I agree with you on the election part, but I am optimistic that you're right. But this is where we're going in the primaries. We're going to unseat some of these establishment candidates. We're going to have good primary challengers. Yeah, I'm trying to be optimistic, man.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong,
and
but
then all right, and when all that happens,
like for example,
then what happens is that they get into power, and then they start pointing at the other party, going, "They're not letting us do what we want to do. All those promises we made to you, sorry, we can't deliver them because they're not letting us." It's
and I know I'm a
horseshit.
long-winded country boy who can't explain or say the right words. I know you called me out earlier. Thought that was funny, but
It was just one
here
word.
this
Let's not
I know
exaggerate.
I don't
Anyway, we're at
I know I'm not.
89,000. Let's get it on, man. We are so close. I feel it. You people are phenomenal. I'm loving this.
But this is
So,
my biggest fear, man. Is we hypothetically we have midterms with your theory. Let's just say we have them. We win. So essentially, what that means is if Democrats win the House or the Senate, they stop the Trump administration. Now, the J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, whoever it's going to be in 28, they're going to run a campaign on, well, the Democrats stopped everything we tried to do to make America great again. And that's
yeah,
going
of
to be their
course.
platform.
Of course.
So
I
we've
mean,
got
that
to,
was their platform in 2020, and that was their platform in 2024. August came on into the chat, and let me tell you, he obviously took a lot of time and put a lot of thought behind his comment. He wrote MAGA.
hey, thank you for your time, sir. I'm with you.
All right.
Thank you, AC.
I'll drop you down because we got a couple people waiting in the wings that have been waiting patiently. Let's see if we can get some. Let's get Jessica in here. All right. What a night. I thought this was going to be over in an hour, and then we got a second win. What's up, Jessica? How you doing?
Hey Yoda, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Um, to kind of carry over what he was saying, yeah, I mean it's also, in my opinion, intentional as well. Trying to put the blame on, oh, the Democrats are blocking, what we're trying to do. I mean, we see an example of this with the Big Beautiful Bill. That's why most of the worst parts of the Big Beautiful Bill don't kick in until after midterms,
Hmm.
just as a fallback in case the Democrats do win the majority. Then they can blame, oh, well, none of this stuff started happening until we started having Democratic majority.
Right.
So, that's, you can blame the Democrats for that. That's why
That's
it's all
some
going to
next
shit.
level evil genius, I gotta say.
Yeah, but I don't know if Logan is still hanging around down in the chat, but I
Yeah,
had
he's still here.
proposed kind of going back to the issue of pew pews. So as somebody who also lives in the country, born and raised in Arkansas here, right? I am an avid owner and user of pew pews myself. Um, I think that there is a way to come to a compromise that you can get most people on the right, or at least a fair number of them on the right, to kind of agree with. Now, nobody's going to get exactly what they want in it. That's why it's a compromise. But for instance, like personally, I think that the case could be made that if you are on the National No Fly Registry, you probably shouldn't be able to go out and buy an AR, right? I feel like most people
That's a
can get
real low
behind that.
bar. I like that.
Right? And so, because I feel like whenever it comes to the topic of, pew pew reform or regulations, you have to take the Democratic Party is going to have to take baby steps, right? You always got to start somewhere. You can't jump from step 1 to step 10. And so I think that a good way to do that is by putting stuff like that that's got a real low bar that most people from either side of the aisle can get behind. And then you kind of build upon it from there.
I mean, logically, you're 100% correct, and I would love. This is my fantasy because this conversation about weapons just annoys the fuck out of me. I would like to see what Australia did
Fair enough.
after the Port Arthur massacre in 1996. The next day, the Australian government said basically, "All right, then we've had enough of that." And they confiscated, I believe it was something like 600,000 weapons or 700,000 weapons. And just basically the whole society agreed, like, yeah, we don't, this is not necessary, you know? And I understand that that won't happen in America. That's why it's my fantasy, right? Like, that's what I would love to see. Just people go, and the reason I know it's not going to happen is because it didn't happen after Sandy Hook in 2012. Once that didn't happen, my heart was permanently broken. How people could respond to 20 children ages 6 and 7 being taken out like that with Second Amendment. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're fucked. This is it. This was the last litmus test that we needed." Even this Jeffrey Epi, Jeffy Epi, even that shit. There's still people divided on that. Like, what the fuck? What team is everybody on? By the way, I have another live goal, 100 roses. I figured I'd sneak one in toward the end, so anybody care to knock that out, that would be great. I believe with 60 people in here, we can get that done very quickly. Look at AC going nuts. You're the best, bro. So yeah, I'm with you on everything you said, and I agree strategically. That's the best approach, Jessica. Just like let's go in increments that are the easiest to deal with and see. And I guarantee you there'll be resistance to that, but at least that's probably doable.
Yeah, and especially like even stuff like with because you wouldn't be able to start with it right out of the gate just because of how, how the red hats really love their pew pew shows and all of the red tape that they don't have by being able to go through those. But closing the pew pew show loopholes, I think, would be another logical step. That'd be like step two. Maybe not step one, but maybe step two.
Yeah.
And I know that like a bunch of polling shows that like even several members of the NRA themselves are also for closing those loopholes, or at least putting higher restrictions on them anyway. So just kind of it would definitely be a baby step kind of thing. But the reality of it is that by and large, the majority of Democrats do not want to just outright ban all of them and take away the ones that people already have.
Yeah.
Do some of them? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But by and large, I would say the majority of the Democratic Party don't want to. I myself, I mean, I carry, I have an enhanced concealed carry. I mean, I fully exercise that 2A, but I do still think that if, one of the most dangerous things that we do on a daily basis, which is get into a car and drive it around, if we need to insure and register that, then maybe the thing that's capable of mowing down hundreds of people in a matter of minutes, we should probably look into, registering and insuring those as well. Logically.
It looks like you're using facts to ruin a good story. I can't stand when that happens. Yeah, I got you. Well, we're going to start wrapping up, so let's go. I heard Grizzly rumbling, so let's start with you, Grizzly. Final thoughts.
So to get on what she was talking about, I totally agree with that. And as a former owner and supporter of the Second Amendment, I agree with her 100% because, in if we don't crack down on it, you know, you're never gonna get get those taken care of. And I agree in everything you guys have talked about and on this live. I agree 100% with, and that's my thought.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. You rock, Grizz. Anybody that hasn't caught one of Grizzly's lives, it's a treat. Go check it out. And
Thank
again,
you, Yoddah,
thank you
for
for
letting me
being
up.
here. All right, absolutely. Blue. Yes, by the way, Blue, I didn't get us to 101,000. You folks did that, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, Blue, what are your final thoughts?
Oh, final thoughts are, whatever the media tries to tell, the 50 viewers right now that divides us, and, there's this right side that are this way and this left side that are that way. Why don't you go, and if you're blue, go visit Texas. And if you're from Texas, go visit Boston, and you will find that we actually think a lot alike. And in person, we treat each other with respect, and we love the same core fundamental values. One, protect our veterans, they protect our country. Two, women's rights. Three, healthcare. Four, if things go awry, we at least protect the people that are homeless. And it's very strict, by the way, those tiny bits of rights that are being taken away right now. The basic core fundamental things that allow us to live as humans, whether you live in California, Florida, Louisiana, or South Carolina, North Carolina, or wherever. I've lived in every one of those states, and I will tell you, a human is a human. So
Course.
stop watching the news. Stop thinking that there's they and us. Because at the end of the day, if you meet them and have a conversation in person like what Yoda provides today for all of us, and we open up these dialogues and communication and put the biases aside, we actually truly have this opportunity to unite. And that is what the foundation of this country
Yeah.
was at one point,
Well,
and
that's
it
what
doesn't mean
the
that we
rhetoric
can't get
always was.
back to it. Yeah. So
But I'll
thank you
tell you
so much
what,
for giving
those
me
liberals are a problem because they eat their corn this way. Anyway.
and they dye their hair purple. Those libs. Those
Yeah.
libs. It's so insulting to me because I'm kind of conservative as a Bostonian, Like, I don't, it's weird to be called that. It's like, you're just making the divide bigger. Let's just meet in the middle somewhere. Anyway, thank you for the
Wicked
time to let
sharp.
me be on. Wicked shot, yo, Panama in the corner. They're on the corner for quarters. You know how it goes.
All right. Thanks for being here as always. Have a great night.
Thanks for letting me up. Love you so much.
Absolutely.
You guys are
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Danny, you my man.
All right, Traffic Man, final thoughts.
I did want to bring this up, but I'll just throw it into my final thoughts. If anybody has the opportunity, I implore them to please go watch the great senator from Florida, Rick Scott. I'm saying that extremely sarcastically.
Jesus Christ.
Go off, go off on a rant tonight, and complaining that the senators and representatives should absolutely be able to continue to buy stocks in the stock market, unfiltered, just as they may, because, and these are his words, do you think I want to be a poor? Cool. Thanks, bud. This is the same guy that committed
Why
the
is
most
he
egregious
still in
Medicare fraud.
fucking politics? Exactly.
I have no idea.
The biggest Medicare fraud in American history, and we're just like, sure, you could be a senator.
Yeah,
What the
exactly.
fuck?
Yeah. Yep. I guess that's what we're into now is just,
This is a
criminals and
silly
going,
country. Honestly, it's a goofy fucking place.
Yes.
Shit.
And
Well, anyway.
I will add this real quick to add to the goofiness. What is it? What's the governmental department that is kind of like HR for all the departments, not the government, not the Department of the Interior. Anyways, there was a memo passed out to all the heads of the governing bodies across the U.S. that says that it's perfectly fine now to engage with your fellow employee to convince them of religion.
Oh, great.
But
So
only
We
for
need more of that.
Christianity.
We
yes,
need more of
yes,
that.
Christianity, I should say, not just religion. Yeah. So
Oh, specific. Yeah.
it does spell out that you really should only do that during your lunch breaks, but we know how well that'll be
Right.
enforced. So
So
again,
wait, so
sir, I have an explanation. Yes, go ahead.
Zoroastrianism, that's out of the question?
Oh, of course.
Thank you, brother. We're gonna
So
go Jessica, then AC, then Danny. So Jessica, final thoughts?
Well, I wasn't here admittedly for most of the live.
Eh,
I was only in here
They
for a
could be
couple of minutes
any.
before
We
I
don't have to
got
summarize the live.
Yeah.
Just any thoughts you have will
Okay.
be fine.
Any thoughts that I have would be that I'm sincerely hoping that the Democratic Party will pull their head out of their ass
Yes.
and start instead of fighting back, being more proactive and leading the charge instead of just doing what they can to, with their minority in Congress, trying to grandstand and say, no, we don't agree with all these things you're passing. Maybe just take the first steps. Why wait for Texas to gerrymander and get 5 new seats and then be like, oh, California, now you do it?
Yeah.
No, be proactive, get your head out of your ass. Sitting here and just replying and acting in reply to everything that these I'm trying to be TikTok friendly. I'm really trying. And trying to just do everything in response is not going to cut it. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's not going to fix anything. We need to all be proactive. Everybody needs to, if you can get involved in whatever way you can, even at the local level of bringing about the change that we need to see, I encourage everybody to do that. If you can get on campaign trails, go door knocking, whatever you can do, please do that. If your Republican senators or Congress people are voting on an issue coming up and you know that they're going to vote against your interest, call them nonstop, hound them, let them know that their job is to represent their constituents, and you do not want that. You do not want what's happening. You have the power to call them relentlessly, be a pain in their ass, and hopefully one day it'll make a difference.
Absolutely. Excellent. Good stuff. Thank you so much for being here as always, and you're welcome anytime.
Thanks, Yoda.
All right. So just for the record, the ticker turned over to 100,000 at 2 hours and 26 minutes. I love that. You guys rock. We're at 103,000 now. You guys are all the best. So AC, final thoughts, sir.
Final thoughts is we absolutely, yes, what Jessica said, just keep calling, but at the same time, we if there's going to be a point where calls are not going to work, so we need to start doing some camping outside of homes of certain congressional people.
Freedom of assembly, baby. Let's
That's
use it while we
exactly
still
it.
have it.
Yep. If they don't want to go to the fight, we're going to bring the fight to them. So that's how we get going. And if the calls aren't doing anything in like 2 fucking weeks, I say let's start camping.
I think that's perfect. That's, we have in reality so few options. We have such little power as citizens. Most of the shit that they've taught us to believe with regard to like we the people and power the people, it's horseshit. So it makes it even that much more vitally important to exercise the power that we have.
Absolutely.
And if it's phone calls and emails and snail mail, then let's do that. If that don't work, then your idea is spot on. Let's show the fuck up. We outnumber them. And I know that
our
there is a
power is
point where
literally in
that
our
doesn't
numbers.
matter because of the weaponry, but All we got to do is rattle a few chains. We just have to rattle a few people that are enough to sway the direction of things. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. We're going to do it legally, ethically, and nonviolently. But let's show the fuck up. Let's stop talking about one-day protests and start talking, just like the MLK way, of 1 year protests. Because that's what Selma and that was the Montgomery bus boycott. That lasted just over a year of daily sustained effort. That's what the fuck we got to do, because that's the only thing that we have. Because revolution is not likely. How the fuck would we organize that? But and that's not
Very
what we want
messy
to
in
see
3
anyway.
years.
That's not the desired outcome. Let's just turn up the heat as much as we possibly can. And if that means some of these giant multi-billion-dollar corporations got to go, again, not ideal because it means people will lose their jobs. But if that's going to do the trick, if we can show them, that we could be ants on an elephant, then that's what we got to do.
Absolutely. And if
Good
they're
stuff.
unwilling to come out of that ant hole, we will bring the ant hole to them.
Exactly. Good stuff, AC. I appreciate you, brother. And please, let me just say this for the record. And you know I don't say this about everybody. You know I don't give my endorsement just kind of flippantly. AC is a big reason, if not the main reason, why I know a lot of you out there. Why I was accepted into this lovely, beautiful, well-oiled, fully committed group of people. It's the only reason I know Danny. So AC gets all due deference and respect, and I admire the fortitude that he brings to his live shows. He did at least one live show, one that I saw, where his whole live was him on the phone calling Republican senators. And he called all of them in America. That's balls that clang that you can hear a mile away, my friends. That's what we need. Okay, so if you're not following him, I'm just going to go ahead and say it plainly. You're a fucking loser. So follow AC, get on his lives, be part of the movement. It's real, and we ain't fucking around. So thank you for being here, brother. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that praise. And if you have the time, and I'm talking to everybody in this live, if you got the time, make some fucking calls. Like literally what Yoddah just said, I called all of these Republican senators in one day. It was like a 3-hour live, like 3 or 4 hour live. I called all of them. So if you can do the same thing, call them, leave messages, tell them your thoughts, and make sure that you repeat it the next day.
And I'm going to augment your suggestion. And I am loath to do it because it's like trying to touch up the Mona Lisa, but I just have one slight change that I would make. Fuck if you have the time. Make the fucking time. We ain't fucking around anymore. This isn't about convenience. This isn't about maybe I'll get to it. Put your money where your fucking mouth is. If you say you're unhappy with what's going on, stop waiting for when it's convenient to do what you need to do. Get the fuck on it. Absolutely. Thank you, my brother. Absolutely. I appreciate it, man.
Leopardess. She is on top of that shit too. So I'm glad you're in here, man. Nice to see you. All right, drop me, my friend.
All right, man. Have a great night. Oh, Danny, last man standing as always. What's on your mind, friend?
Well, another amazing live by the professor. And you had a great group of panelists.
That's what makes the lives, man. I'm happy to do my part, but my panel comes through every fucking night. It's amazing.
And of course, I've been with AC ever since I joined TikTok, and they welcomed me with open arms with the KTA family. So I'm a proud member of the KTA, and I love everybody in my family immensely, all the way from AC down to the newest person in the KTA family. But anyway, I had so much I wanted to say, but you need to go get off of this
No,
live because
no,
I'm
man.
going to
No,
try to
please take all the
go.
time you want, man.
So
I'm good.
I'm everybody had made so many good points. Whether we're talking about are we going to have a 2026 election to the 2028? Uh, a lot of it's going to depend on how we react as a community and as Democrats, because like I keep saying to everybody, uh, he Trump is waiting by bated breath to declare martial law. He
Right,
wants to stop the elections in the United States for the foreseen future. Why he's still in office? Because he knows that his party's in trouble in 2026. So he's so all I want to make sure everybody understands is that I want you to stand tall, stand proud, and be loud, but be peaceful about it.
right.
you know. But we have to fight. The senators and the congressmen got to take the gloves off. I'm sorry. This general gentleman and general lady is bullshit. You need to start calling out these. I don't know if I can use this word communists on TikTok, but communist cocksuckers out. We need to start calling them out for
Yeah,
what they are, because
yeah,
they are. Because I guarantee you, if we step back and just give them an inch like that we already have, they're going to take thousands of miles, not
yeah,
just 1 mile. They're going to take thousands of miles. So we need to start throwing punches, and I ain't talking about and to the gut. I'm talking knockout punches
yeah,
to sit there and because we may not be strong, because we don't have the numbers to overcome uh, a vote or an objection or some type of stuff, but we got words and we got ways of making our point across. So I want you guys and gals out there to get a hold of your congresspeople, get a hold of your senators, and tell them to start acting more like these speeches that I've been hearing lately, calling out these suckers. Because Booker's calling them out. Other
yeah,
people are calling them out right now. And we need to start calling them out on the floor. We need to start calling them out in person. And you need to start going to these town halls and keep them accountable. Like AC says, you got to keep these people accountable. And the only way you do it is to show up, stand up, and tell them what, like it is. You work for us. We don't work for you. And you need to stand your ground with that. And with that, Friday is Happy Friday on my live. We're playing Trivial Pursuit. And if you haven't played Trivial Pursuit on Grandpa Danny's live on the Way of Positive Change, you ain't had no fun yet. Cause it is a hoot. So you need to come by and try it out. If anything, just come and show up and you'll see what we're doing here. It's a lot of fun. And on Sunday, I'm doing Bet Talk, the first and third Sunday of the month. And that's Veterans Helping Veterans. It's just a panel for a couple hours of veterans, and we're gonna any veterans that need thinks that they have some questions about veteran benefits when they get out of the service. Because I had no help when I got out in 1991. I had to find my own way over to VA, and then I didn't know what I was looking for or asking for.
right.
So we need to have that discussion with our fellow veterans. It's not going to be a bullshit session. It's not going to talk war stories. We're going to talk about what can we do to help you. Do you have any questions? What's available now in the VA? What's the latest changes in the VA that's going on that will help you, the individual veteran? So whatever you do, 12 noon this Sunday will be the very first Vet Talk. Veterans helping veterans. And
And
with
that's
that,
12 noon
thank you
Pacific
so much.
time. 12 noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock East
That's right.
Coast.
12 noon Pacific. I'm sorry. Thank you reminding me. I'm wound up, so I was trying to
I
make sure I
love it.
got.
I love Wound Up
Yeah.
Danny. That's excellent. Good stuff, man. Well, listen, folks, if you don't know how I feel about Danny, you haven't been paying attention. This is a giant among men. Everyone, you need to follow him. You need to go to his lives. They're conscientious, they're thoughtful, they're amazing in every way possible. And Friday is more fun than you can imagine. Playing Trivial Pursuit with Grandpa Danny is a fucking hoot beyond all hoots. It is more fun than you can ever imagine. You will laugh until your cheeks hurt, and it's brilliant, and it's an excellent way to finish your week, to escape all the bullshit and just have fucking fun. With that, my friend, have a great night as always. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
Good night, Yoda. Thank you so much for your help.
Absolutely. So I'm going to close by referencing a 1976 film called Network, one of my favorite films ever. In it, this amazing actor named Peter Finch played a character named Howard Beale. And Howard Beale went viral before the internet. All right. In this film, he was a newscaster, and suddenly he had a bunch of epiphanies, and his character changed completely, and he started telling the truth, which, as you can imagine, is very, very terrifying for the establishment. And one of the things that he encouraged his people to do is get mad as hell. This is the thing that made him go viral before the internet. He started chanting into the camera. He said, I want you to go to your front door, open the front door and step out. I want you to go to your windows, to your fire escapes, to your terraces, whatever you're doing, start screaming, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And then you see scenes of people following his instructions all over the country, going out and yelling, I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. And we are now at that point. The only way that this is going to fucking work is that if we get mad as hell and decide we are not going to take it anymore. Fuck these people. Fuck the oligarchy. Fuck the greedy billionaires. Fuck the corrupt government. Let's do this shit. We have got to change this. Folks, I'm going to leave you with this sad, sad thought, man. History has shown us what happens to countries that go down the path that America is going down. And this ain't the beginning of the path. We're near the end. We're near the end of the final steps of complete fascism in America. Look what the fuck happened. Look at what America was at 11:59 a.m. on January 20th of 2025, and look what it has become 6 months and 10 days later. This is real. This is terrifying. We have to figure it out. And again, always peacefully. But we have to be committed to making the change. One thing you could do is download the 5 Calls app. If you've never done it before, it's an amazing app. It first asks for your zip code because it's going to base all the list of contact names that it gives you on your zip code. It'll connect you to all senators, to all representatives, to everybody that you need to contact. And you have the option of either calling them because it gives you all their numbers, emailing them because it gives you all their emails, fax number if anybody's still living in the Stone Age and faxing, You can do that. You can snail mail if you need to. And it gives you suggestions of upcoming votes or upcoming issues or current issues that you can attack. Start doing it. Start getting involved, because if we lose this fight, you're going to regret not doing everything you could have done. I don't want to live like that. I already have regrets, but then again, too few to mention. Anyway, thank you, Sinatra. But I don't want to regret this. I don't want to get to the end of this. If these fucking pieces of shit win and we go full fascist, I don't want to feel like I never did anything to stop it. So I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the evening. The fact that we got to 112,000 in less than 3 hours is just fucking amazing to me. I cannot tell you how much you all mean to me. Your time is the most valuable thing you have, and the fact that you choose to spend your time with me is unbelievable to me, and I am eternally grateful for it. And all the panel, amazing. All the people that commented, amazing. If you tapped, if you shared, if you gifted, you're all just fucking rock stars in my book. So with any luck, I'll be back Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Until then, peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.